We are just a couple minutes late at 7:02. It's okay. Happy Thursday, or as I heard it put this afternoon, Happy Friday Eve. Uh, we're really happy to have you here, and I need to remind everyone to enable StreamYard. Please click on the three buttons on the bottom right hand uh, portion of your video screen so that you can enable StreamYard so that it enables me to see who is commenting. Otherwise, it comes up as anonymous. So, we are on episode 16. We are going over the final portion of reporting. We're going over collections, also known as the accounts receivable aging report, short for AR. And as always, we do a little review of the previous episode. But before we do that, I always remind everyone why it is that we do this, why it's so important. So, March 2020, COVID hit, and it had so many businesses shuttering. It had businesses applying for PPP loans, for grants, and a lot of employees losing their jobs. And no one could get out of their homes. So, what does that mean? It means that businesses lost a lot of money. Once they started to lose money, a lot of the businesses started devising new ways of making some of that money up. They figured out how to do things online when they couldn't do it online before. Maybe they were an essential business, who knows? But the fact is, due to COVID and possibly some other scenarios, business owners may not be able to afford a bookkeeper right now. So we are doing this for them. That is the primary reason. We're doing that for small business owners that cannot afford a bookkeeper. I am trying to give you the basic knowledge that you need in order to complete your books so that you know what the financial health of your business is. Because you should not know whether or not you're making a profit. You should not know how much you better yet, you should know, sorry. You should never be in the position where you do not know how much you're spending in order to keep your business running. Looking at your bank account to see how much money is in it does not count. That doesn't matter because banks lag. So if you write checks from your bank to cover all of your vendor payments, it takes time for those to clear the bank. It takes time for mail to be delivered. So, sure, you just wrote those checks, but it could take a week or two for them to clear. So, it's a misconception. You look at your bank account and think, oh, I've got $200,000 in there. I can spend away. I can go out and I can get all the materials that I need for this job or I can go out and get this new desk or this new printer, whatever it is. And then the very next day, you're in the negative. I know $200,000 for a printer is a little extreme, but that's just an example. The secondary reason is for new bookkeepers. This is something brand new. It's only been around for I've been assisting bookkeepers for a few months, but I have a mentorship program, and that is brand new. It's only been around for now 3 weeks. So, and that is constantly evolving. We are here to also help educate the new bookkeepers so that they are on the up and up, so that they know what is going on, so that they know the basics that they may not have learned in other programs. So, with that said, let's do a little review of yesterday. So yesterday we went over the 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 accounts payable aging report. So remember, this is how you know when everything is due. This is how you know for some of the small businesses, unfortunately, that are hitting hard times and may not be able to pay everybody that they owe money to. These companies have to pick and choose, unfortunately. It would be nice if they could pay everybody that they have on their list, but that's just not the reality for many businesses. And so they use this report so that they can check off everyone that they need to pay or would like to pay right now. It's specifically best used whenever you have collections. You've been contacted by vendors and they're wanting to know where their money is. And you're 90 days past due, if not more. They're ready to send you to collections. So you may be printing out this report to give to your boss, and he's going to ask you, he or she is going to ask you, what bills do you think need to be paid? And you're going to point to that one bill that is $1,500 or however much and say, this bill is this far behind. It's been past due for a long time. They're threatening to send us to collections. It's going to ruin the credit history for your company. It's going to um, negatively impact everything for the company. You may not ever be able to get credit again after that or for several years. So that's when this report is the most handy. So let me share my screen quickly. And again, we are on the sample company. So remember, we go to reports. And again, I'm sorry that it's taking a little bit longer. It's not usually, doesn't usually lag like this, but because we're on a live video, it is. You come down here to who you owe or what you owe. And this is going to be the unpaid bills. It's different in QuickBooks Desktop. It's easier to find and it's named something completely different. So you're going to go to unpaid bills. Remember, it's always going to choose all dates. But if your boss wants to see something that's as of, let's just say, December 31st, you're going to do a custom search and you're going to enter the 31st of last year. And if you had a lot of things that are due past the 31st, those should be eliminated. However, it is bringing up something here for January 9th. So it's not as accurate as what I would like to see it. So remember, these are the two most important fields right here, these two columns. This one's the number one important column, which is the past due. You can see here it's past due by a negative 2 days. It means it's not due yet. This one, however, is past due by 41 days. So it was due in November. This report you would take to your boss and they would ask you, what do you think needs to be paid right now? This is the amount of money that you have to work with. You're going to highlight whatever you feel needs to be paid, but you're going to see this this 41 days past due and go, this is the very first thing you need to pay. Let's say you've got $150 to work with. I know that's not realistic, but you've got $150 that the boss is giving you to pay all of your bills. And you're going to highlight this and say, okay, out of that 150, $86.44 needs to be paid. Now I can take the remaining amount and I can put it towards one of these. So it's really simple. It's very straightforward. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we are talking about today. We are going into accounts receivable. So this is a nice little trick right here. Instead of going back to reports, it's going to take you back to the exact same place, but go to back to report list. So it takes you back to the reports. Now we're going to go to who owes you. Now, when you go to open invoices, it should show you what invoices have yet to be paid. And again, you can look as of today. If we were to do a custom, and let's say as of November 30th, let's see if anything pops up here. Good. What I wanted to see. So we've got some invoices that were due in November. What does that mean? It means that they're past due. So, especially at the end of the year, and you're trying to collect everything that you can before the first, you want to concentrate on all of these. And this is when you contact all of your customers and you say, hey, you're going to play the person that just called you in order to get paid. So now the tables have been reversed. So now you're that person. You are going to contact your customers and you're going to say, hey, and very politely, by the way, hey, we've got an invoice that is out that was due November 3rd. I was wondering what the status of that is. Is there any way that we can get paid for that before the end of the year or before whatever period it is? Um, and they'll they should be honest with you. In most cases, they typically are. Um, they'll either tell you, I'm sorry, but my boss has told me that my hands are tied. I'm not allowed to pay this right now. Or um, yes, we're cutting checks today. Why don't I get your email address? And as soon as I cut you a check, I'll send you an email and it'll have the check number in there so that they know to expect it or you know to expect it. Sorry. Uh, then there are the other scenarios. Uh, One that is usually very surprising to them, which is, oh, you sent me an invoice? I'm sorry, I never received this. Could you send that to me again and I'll pay it immediately? And then there are the other ones that won't talk to you. That doesn't happen very often when you're working between businesses. Now, if you're working with consumers, you're working with individuals, that is a completely different story. And I never want to be in that position. I've never worked for a company that uh, specializes in collections for collecting bills from consumers. Sorry, collecting money from consumers. I've never done it. I never will. I never want to. I don't want to be that person on the end of the line that is trying to collect money and I get cussed out at and uh, I get the phone hung up on me and whatever, excuse after excuse, which is normal for the consumers, especially now. But when you're dealing with businesses, that's not typically the case. Typically, everyone's going to be very polite. They're going to be upfront and honest with you. They'll tell you if they can or cannot pay the bill. Um, if they cannot pay the bill, then you don't want to get rough with them. There are some that do. You do want to be a little more blunt. Um, the way that someone actually told me a long time ago, she said, I really love the way that you interact with the customers whenever you're doing collections. you can tell them off without actually telling them off, and they pay you. So, um, that's kind of the way that you need to do it. Sometimes you do have to be a little bit gruff with them, but in a polite manner. And sometimes it doesn't matter how polite you are. Sometimes it's always going to come off as strong, and some people will say rude. Um, Others will say, "Thank you for telling us." But when you have someone that tells you, "Oh, we can't pay that right now," you say, "Well, you know what? Give them an excuse. You know what? My boss is really breathing down my neck right now. Um, is there anything that you can do? Can you pay half right now? Or uh, can I call you back in a week? Or can I call you back tomorrow?" Or whatever the case is. You wanna you wanna act accordingly, especially if they are extremely past due and you say, "Oh, well, can I call you back tomorrow?" and hope for a different answer. Um, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to end up being no, flat out no. But occasionally you'll get that person that will say, "You know what? Yeah, my boss is out of town right now. He'll be back in tomorrow. Let me talk to him." So that's kind of the collection slash AR in a nutshell. It's another report for you to go off of so that you know exactly how much money is owed you, by whom, and when it was due. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a net 30 right here. So QuickBooks will automatically calculate the dates and every time it hits 30 days. So a lot of times it will actually tell you, yes, it hit the net 30 due date at this time. You are now this much past due. Just, kind of like the accounts payable report. So if you ever need to collect, if you ever need to, sorry, I've got my dogs in here. If you ever need to collect, if you ever need to look at your customers and check to see when they last paid their bill, uh, if you have that customer that you're a little bit leery about, you've had problems with before, this is a good report because if you decided to do work for them again and suddenly they're late, they didn't pay the last time, or they paid 6 months late the last time, you want to look at this report and go, "Okay, it's been 60 days. I have not been paid. I know what's going to happen. I need to nip this in the bud now." So, and this is how you also determine whether or not someone goes to collections. Um, Collection agencies, it's not the nicest thing to deal with, and they are not guaranteed that they're going to collect the money. The nice thing is usually you do not have to pay anything to the collection agency if they don't collect. The bad thing is if you have, I believe it's above $500 that is owed, then they will take, I believe they take 20%. It's either 15 or 20%. The worst thing is that if it is below that 500, they will take a third. So the fees are high. You are guaranteed you are not going to get your money. You will end up writing part of that off. But you have to weigh out uh, what the advantages are. Do you take them to collections, risk not getting paid at all, or only getting paid two-thirds, or 80% of what you had actually charged? Do you take them to small claims court? Of course, small claims court, they are not required to pay you at all. It's not enforceable, which is something that I thought was very strange when my attorney actually told me, and I was in this position last year. I had a client that refused to pay me. And uh, ultimately, I had to figure out what was going to be best. Was it going to be worth it for me to send her to collections? Was it going to be worth it for me to sue her and take her to small claims court or go to litigation? Um, and ultimately, because it was uh, less than that 500, and because they were going to take a third, I decided it wasn't worth it. So for me, it was a learning experience, one that I will never do again. Um, and I'm sure everybody will end up having one of those at one time in their careers and their businesses. So it's up to you. You have to weigh out the benefits. You've got to weigh out the pros and cons. It might be worth it just to write it off. And write offs are just that. You can write it off on your taxes as a loss. So that is all that we have for this episode. It's a little bit short. Let me stop my share. And so next week, we've got a full week again. This series is going to the end of the month, and then that is it. So uh next week, again, next Tuesday is an extremely important video, an extremely important lesson. I encourage all of you to come to this one and actually participate. Um, we are, and it's probably going to sound boring to you right now, but trust me when I say how important this is that you are here for this, especially if you are a construction company or you are a bookkeeper for a construction company. So we are going to be going over workers' compensation. Why is it so important? And believe me, when you find out all of the different levels of workers' compensation for the different industries, specifically construction, your mind will be blown. Um, this episode, because it is jam packed with information, will probably end up going an hour. So I just want to remind all of you how important it is that y'all are here to watch this episode. It's extremely important. It's detrimental to your business, and it is detrimental for the construction bookkeepers out there that may not understand or may not even know anything about this, and something that if they are looking at making construction their niche, this is a big thing that they need to put in their wheelhouse and that they need to do and offer. They definitely need to keep their eyes open for this. So again, next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Workers' compensation, why is it so important? I really hope to see all of you here next Tuesday at 7. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.